Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed the conversation and thanks so much for coming back. But for everyone out there who's new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer, soda, water, coffee in the fridge. Cheers to everyone out there on the internet. Super important. So we put a pin in the term black rock, I believe.
Yes.
Let's dig into that. I'm curious.
So black rock, the pitch that I usually give people, black rock is a genre that is built to pay homage and pay respect to African American artists that have influenced American culture and the worldwide culture.
Yeah.
When I first started doing rock music in my teens, I got a lot of adversity from both black and white sides of my life. A lot of the white people were like, oh man, that's rock and roll, like Led Zeppelin and this and that, you know, and not having knowledge and understanding, I didn't.
Not having knowledge that Jimmy Page pretty much ripped off every riff off of black artists.
Right. You know,
but
you know, they're telling me like, no, you can't do this. And then black people are like, yeah, that's white people music, and going along this road, but saying like, I love rock, I love blues, and finally getting old enough to do some research and learning about Muddy Waters, learning about Chuck Berry, learning about Little Richard, you know, and getting into my history. And I said, why is it that we have such a divide with this genre of music?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that when you talk about rock and roll, it's like it has to be under the guise of a white artist or a white label or a white producer?
That's the thing, is like the idea of black rock, like I understand where you're coming from, and it almost like pisses me off that you even need to say that.
Talk about it.
Because like rock is, you know, at its core, that's what it comes from, right?
Does.
And the reason why you're getting like, why you get so much pushback, and like honestly I've gotten pushback too, because like I do a very similar thing to you in terms of just like melding a bunch of genres together with my music.
The genre fusion.
It's like there are people that are like, oh, if you try to introduce, it's like, okay, like we took something, whitewashed it, and now if you're going to do anything that makes it less white, like we're not going to approve.
We're not going to approve it.
And it's really, really corny.
It's corny as fuck because, you know, the essence of black culture as it has derived through like sorry, I'm about to use a lot of, but as it's derived through the African diaspora of us is very inclusive. From religion, from community. Like, we are not a group of people that generally are like, no, you can't have. I think that over years we have become more and more kind of aggressive in it, because anytime that we do have something, they take it and they whitewash it, and then we don't get the credit for it. And it's not even so much do we want the credit, or should I say, from my opinion, I don't want to say like, oh, only black people can do rock and roll. I just want to be involved in the conversation. I want to be able to say like, yeah, I love Jimmy Page and I love Van Halen, but I also love Jimi Hendrix and Muddy Waters. And why do we continue to say like, oh, well, those are different? They're not different.
And like, why is it when there's like, you know, like you'll get situations where it's like, oh, like that band's really cool. Did you see they got like a black guitar player? Or like, oh, did you see that band? They got a girl singer. Like,
right. Did you see the girl drummer?
What's the big fucking deal?
Exactly.
We're all humans. We
music.
all like music. And like, I think so much of it too is like everybody gets fixated on this genre thing, but so much of it is attitude.
Yes.
Like when I was a kid, to me, hip hop was no different than rock because it all had a similar attitude. It felt the same.
Yes.
There's so much of hip hop that feels rock and roll.
And there's so much of rock like, and roll that feels like hip hop.
Yeah. Or like punk rock or anything. It's all about like the essence of it and like what it is built on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so weird when down the line it gets corporatized and becomes this thing where it's like, you know, oh, now like I can go buy a Sex Pistols iPhone case at fucking Best Buy. What is happening here? It's so weird.
It's fucking weird, man.
I feel like we're like missing the point somehow.
I feel like we're missing the point, and that's why focusing on like this genre and it wasn't really the name of the genre came out of just the fact that like I'm spiting the fact that I have to tell people that black people can do rock and roll too. You know, my first EP was labeled black rock, and the genres on it were more like neo soul and R&B, and we had some rock in there and some blues. And then as I was just growing with the sound, I said, I've always loved hip hop. I've always loved rock and roll. I've always loved trap music and drill and R&B and soul. Why can't I just fuse them all?
Sure.
And that's where I was like, okay, that's what Black Rock is. Black Rock is the fusion of African American culture, so that we can at least say, or at least I can say, I had a part of it, of like expressing all of myself and not allowing society or labels, because that's really what it was. These conversations with labels, and they look at you and they say, well, I don't know what to do with a black-led rock band.
Sure.
Or venues say, well, people aren't going to show up to hear black people play rock music. Like venues here in Pittsburgh saying that shit. And I'm like, really? Have you not heard of Afropunk? Have you not heard of a band called Death? Have you not heard of In Living Color? All these groups that have done it before and their success in it, if you like tap the right target. Sure. But they don't want to try. They don't want to do the legwork because rock music is in this space.
Yeah, I think that it's really, really hard when you have this huge disconnect, if we want to get into like the conversation about venues, like where so many people that run venues don't understand the music side of things or know anything, right? So if you're lucky, they get some sort of a talent buyer or someone that is like a promoter that will book shows for them and help curate shows there.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that people that curate shows curate outside of their friend group.
Yes.
So then you create these weird insular bubbles. And like, I don't think that's always a thing that is meant to be malicious, because sometimes too, like if you're a promoter and like say like the only people that you know are like Back Alley Sound and the Bleepy Things and Royce, like if those are the people you know, those are the people you're going to book. You know, they're reliable and they're going to come through.
Exactly.
And it takes a lot of time and effort though to like take chances on other bands and start to build out, because on the flip side of things, there are a lot of bands that you might take a chance on, you're going to get burned.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of local talents that are just, I mean,
they just don't show up.
The only thing they're talented at is being unreliable.
Right.
That's really about it, right? So it's a big web of shit to really dig through. But in terms of like finding people to take a chance on you as an artist, that's like really the hardest thing, unless you're doing something that like fits a specific mold. And again, I've dealt with that since the start of doing Normal Creatures, and back when we were going under Sykes and the New Violence, and even back when before that, when I was just Sykes, I was just a rapper with an iPod. It was like what is this? You know what I mean? Like
what are you doing?
Yeah, sure. It's like nobody wants to see me at rap shows, because like, keep in mind, this would have been like, 2008, 9. And like, I'm like rolling around on the ground screaming on top of beats. I was like a decade ahead of my time, because now I could probably do well now. And I'm happy. I'm not bitter about that. I'm like, I think that's great that like overall people that listen to music have become a lot more welcoming of that like melting pot of genres.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, venues do have a hard time catching up, and it's really hard for them to take a chance, because really all it takes is for that venue to have been burned one time by some weirdo that they didn't know. And the next time that they get hit up by a weirdo they don't know, like you, they're like, I don't know. I think that we're just going to go with, the fucking
the ones we know,
the tribute band again, the cover band again,
the cover band. No, I get that, and I just I feel like part of it, it all works together, because if you have artists that aren't showing up and not doing what they're doing and not respecting the craft and the art, then you have venues that are like, well, I'm not going to take the chance and the risk, because we have to start to work together.
Yeah, I think
and to find unity in it, and to really. For me, it's about just getting back to what art and music is about. Like you talking about when you were starting out, rapping and everything. When I first started out, I was a Christian rapper, so I didn't say fuck, but I used to rap over techno beats, and I was a part of the new metal scene.
Okay.
And it was still even more restrictive, because it's a Christian space, and I'm going to churches and they're expecting, Chris Tomlin. And here I show up and I'm like, no, I'm a rapper. Oh, it's a rapper. Okay. And then I get up there and I do my thing. And I would have people walk up to me and be like, wow, even though I was not expecting that, or I didn't know what to expect, thank you for speaking to me and touching something in my life. And that's really what it's about, is being able to touch lives,
Totally.
to be able to change and to create change. You know, we want to see the diversity back. When hip hop started in the 80s, you had punk kids and rappers and black kids from the ghettos and Hispanic kids from the ghettos that got together and they just built together.
Sure.
You know, I want it to be more about that. So that's kind of my goal and focus.
Yes. It's just a matter of getting like venues or promoters and people that don't know you to take that chance. And it could be hard, but there's always somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that a big part of this kind of leans into the whole like social media and branding conversation where like I start to feel a little sticky and gross. It's like funny because like, you know, I have a podcast and I'm very much a person that is online a good bit, but there are a lot of things about it that I don't always feel so great about participating in.
Yeah.
But sometimes in order for a venue to take a chance on you, it's like, well, you know, you got to have the right numbers and the right look and good footage of you playing shows, like proof of concept, receipts, if you will. You have to have those things.
Right. And that's why for me, going the more independent artist route, you know, I've been doing music for, I guess, since I was 13 years old. And in that time, I was a solo rapper, and then I was in a band with my brothers, and then I started Royce. And in that time, I just tried to learn everything that I could, because sometimes it is about putting the legwork in. A lot of even black rock as a genre, I intentionally did things so it would catch people's ears. If the venues aren't going to give me a chance because I'm different and I'm strange, or, you know, it goes against the grain, then I'm going to give you quality music, quality visuals, quality photos that show you I'm serious. I'm not I'm not playing games, you know. And as an artist and taking that as serious, you start to understand the business more. You start to understand, well, damn, that's why they didn't want me when I was 16. I'd have been a fucking problem.